Hello, Targar friends. Hey, everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again, it is time for a leg day. So, went ahead and rotated back over to high bar for these. So I'm like, look, I'm doing pause squats. I'm trying to get deep. The goal is to build my quads back up, right? I'm not as worried about maximizing things like posterior chain development on my squats because I have a posterior chain day. So I'm like, well, let's just go with the high bar squats. You know what? They're going to be better on stimulus fatigue. It's going to get my quads into a deeper stretch. So let's just do that. And I went ahead and did these two right around 0 reps in reserve. Again, for me, my max squats tend to move pretty fast, so even when I miss a squat, people are usually shocked when they see me miss one because I don't get any warning. It's not like I grind and hold for 2-3 seconds and then drop. It's just an instant drop into the pins. It's been in the same way it meets. So when I miss a squat, I don't even know I'm missing it. So on these, I know kind of what that feels like. Right about where I'm at, and I know that if I wanted to get one more rep on these, I would probably have to rest 4 or 5 seconds and then rest pause it. So it's right about where it is for me, and I know this is not a particularly heavy weight, but context, it is high bar, it is paused. So yeah, 345 for 5s. These were very, very close to limit sets, and I'm happy with that. I can live with that. Again, quads felt great, everything felt great, and that's the other thing too. My shoulders really like this. As again, trying to continue to focus on shoulder health. And I don't really have to do much stretching or anything to get into this position. With low bar, it takes me a lot longer to warm up. Not because I need warm-up reps, but I've got to really stretch and stretch and stretch so I can just hold the bar correctly. With these, it's a lot easier. And so again, I can just focus on my legs. And of course, the rest of the body. Squat is technically a full body exercise. So again, do my 2 sets of this, and I went over to belt squats. So I went ahead and decided to go up because I did these last time, so I went a hair heavier. I did not like the spud belt, particularly because I wear shorts. It just rubbed me raw, on the inside of my thighs. So I went over for the second set, and it was so much more comfortable. I felt like I was stronger because it was more comfortable. So I went with the one that came with my belt squat machine, right? So I went ahead and used that one. And like I said, eventually I'd love to maybe get a hack squat machine or something. A leg press probably isn't as feasible, a good leg press, just due to the number of plates you got to load. Like people are like, oh, you can get those hybrid ones. You can't put any weight on them. Like, what would be the point? Unless I'm just going to do single leg, in which case I could just do lunges or something. Right, and in my case, so I wouldn't buy a leg press machine like that just to do a single leg exercise, for me personally. So I might eventually get a hack squat, but in the meantime, I'll make these belt squats work. Yes, and I know I was worried about having to get too heavy on these, but I've got a good setup where I can hold onto the bar and everything getting up. Feel like it's reasonably safe, but again, I feel like this wasn't enough weight. I did my 10, and I really wanted to be able to get under 10 reps. Now, these last reps, you guys will notice they're kind of shaky and slow. Again, that tells me that if I wanted more reps, I would have to rest pause, so they're right at limit sets. The next set, of course, I used the other belt. I put another plate on, and I managed to get 8. So again, the same thing. We're not going to see me do sets to failure and stuff on a lot of these leg exercises, mainly just because, safety constraints. I might consider it on the squats eventually, because then it'll really get it out of the way early in the workout, because I've got the safety pins, so I may do some coming up. But again, this set felt so much more comfortable, right? And got really good quality stimulus. I felt good in both. And again, the idea here with a belt squat, you're replicating really very similar to what a power squat looks like, but without loading the spine. So we're not getting that extra axial fatigue. So again, lets me kind of hit some different angles. But the other difference, if I had a different machine, I would have the option of doing these with a narrower stance. We pretty much have to do these power squat style. But again, it lets me still train that movement pattern, still build the muscles around it without having to load my spine up, without having to, put stress on my shoulder. So I can just high bar squat for the back squatting. All right, the Sissy squat. I did, some of these with body weight just to assess. I'm like, I could definitely do a 25. 25 was too easy. I did a 10 rep set. And I've decided I only did one really hard set on this because I did a second set after that was much harder. Still gives me 5 sets, perfectly fine. Those little things keep popping off, by the way. You saw it in the video. I like the way these feel. I'm just going to be honest, I was very against this exercise. You say, oh, I see women tear quads and stuff on it, but they're also setting the device in the wrong position. So there's a lot with that. I also maybe have weak quad tendons. But once I got into doing this, it's a very natural pattern. Now, some people will be like, why don't you do the lay back and try to just use body weight? In my case, a balance issue. Keeping in mind I do have bilateral Meniere's disease, I'm just simply not comfortable doing things like that. It just is what it is. But just doing these loaded with a weight, these felt great. The problem is going to be there is an upper limit on the weight of this machine. So this is going to be an exercise to where I'm going to have to just do reps. I'm not going to be able to get the really low reps I want. I mean, maybe I would be inside the weight limit even with a second plate, but I don't want to push it. You know, I don't want to risk breaking it. I bought a relatively cheap one of these that stores away really easy. It's very lightweight, easy for me to move around, but it does have weight limits. Now, that being said, because this is a finisher, and I've done other heavy stuff like heavy squats first, I don't think that's necessarily a problem, because I'm going to get stronger at the others and be more and more fatigued as I get to this anyways. So what? It may get to a point where I do some 20s. But if I only do one really high rep exercise for my quads, I can live with that. I can live with it. Again, particularly because we're using it to finish it off. And it's kind of where I've been using the leg extensions. But I'm going to say doing this versus what I feel on the leg extensions when I try to use a reverse hyper, very different. And I feel like if I ever mess with the leg extensions again on the reverse hyper, I'm going to have to do them single leg. But that's just so time consuming. Right? Because it's going to probably be high reps no matter what. But I could be wrong. It might be worth trying. All right, so just to finish up, because I'm just doing 2 sets of everything, I do just 2 sets of calves here. Now, for people who are like, well, that's not enough calves, my calves are big from squatting. Calf raises haven't ever technically made my calves grow. I did that several months of calf raises and then quit when I noticed my calves actually got a hair smaller. I measured them and they actually had shrunk a fraction of an inch, so I kind of laughed about it. After months of doing calf raises, after doing 0 for like 20 years. Okay, but I'm like, let's go ahead and do some calf raises. What I'm going to do here, instead of the way I've been doing them on a smaller plate, I want to get the deepest stretch possible. I feel like that's possibly the only way I'm going to get a benefit, but the same thing, we don't need a lot of volume. Keep in mind, this is doing the one isolation. Your compound movements still hit calves. This is just coming in, trying to isolate it, getting them in a lengthened position to finish them off. And then I did 2 sets of hanging leg raises at the end. I've been doing only body weight crunches for abs lately. So these were tough. And actually, after the second set, my abs cramped up for a couple of minutes. And I had to wait like 2 minutes to take these shoes off. Because this is my kind of an outdoor pair of shoes. I don't wear them inside. Pretty much just work out in these and do some sled work and stuff in it. So yeah, definitely a sign I needed the abdominal work. But very happy with today's workout, happy with the way everything went. I don't feel destroyed. That's the nice thing with this type of training. I just don't feel that destroyed, and that's good because it means my quality of life is going to be better, less overall fatigue, but still stimulating muscle growth. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.